April 11th, 2021. How's it going, guys? We're going to do a walk in the park. 8:30 a.m. in the morning. We got sunshine and blue sky. So what are we going to talk about today, guys? I got a good one for you. I got looking at a video where they went back in Chernobyl. And this one guy interviewed this one guy that was over there who worked in the plant itself. They've got like two covers there they put over it. They put one over it and they built another one over it so then they can remove anything that's highly radioactive. But I come across something that was kind of interesting. They started talking about, this guy said it's going to sound crazy. Well, maybe this ain't so crazy. He said that depending on what they were exposed to, they said they could taste different things from the radioactivity. Well, they try to debunk that. I don't know if that's right or not. He said that strontium gave like a metallic taste in the mouth. And plutonium had a sweet taste. Now, some of these guys died, some of them didn't die. Some of them are still breathing. Interesting. It makes you get thinking about a whole other deal about all this stuff. Because if you think about this virus and how people supposedly said some of them had metallic taste in their mouth. Now, supposedly people that get viruses do that, but I sure hadn't heard of that. And I do a lot of reading. So that's kind of interesting. But, you know, if you talk about all this technology, and you talk about like what they were talking about, like your nanite, everything else, and being able to manipulate everything, strontium becomes a paramagnetic like element. So that means it's like goes in one direction. Good, flow good to aluminum, copper. I don't know. I just, you know, and I got to think, you know, you get to think about all this. It's interesting. But what could you do with something like that? You know, bioweapon, where you could direct a thing like that. Interesting. I don't know. Something to think about, though. But I was thinking about this metallic taste that they kept talking about. I don't know. Interesting. Very interesting. while this morning.
Yep.
I mean, if they can manipulate medicines with that, strontium, I believe, also is used for like treatments in certain targeting, I believe, certain kinds of cancer too, like in areas, directing it in certain areas. Not sure though. But if you could do that with some kind of other medication for other purposes, I don't know. But he was talking about smell and taste on that video. And I was just thinking, that's interesting. You guys get a chance, check out my last video. I put a little weather station up. Just a short little clip. I'll do a longer review on it later on. You know, because it reminds me of how, like, you know, they say you can't smell carbon monoxide. You can smell carbon monoxide, but it's pungent. If you got good senses, you can smell it. Definitely. I know I'd go, when I worked at that apartment complex, I walked into one of those apartments. It was vacant. I could smell it. I could almost guarantee, go back, get the carbon dioxide tester, it'd be through the roof. And I was right usually 100% of the time on that. You know what I find interesting too? Suspicious observer talk about lightning, and think of it is, you know, he was talking about a ways back. He said that these airplanes were going around certain lightning storms because of the radiation. See, I think radiation is something to really be concerned about. That's what everybody better be concerned about. In that sense. But you know what I'd like to know? We'll talk about that for a minute. Let's talk a little bit about biokinetic energy. Now, we know certain things give off that energy. Living things give all that energy. Some things that aren't living too. You know, what's interesting is if you can see somebody's aura. But what if you can see it around certain other things? And what if this biokinetic energy here is, we'll just put it this way. What if there's more than one type of biokinetic energy? Yeah. So how would you define that? How would you gauge something like that? That's interesting. You see this pole here? You see this pole here, guys? I see something radiating off that. Just like when I look at a person's aura. And what is that? Now, we can talk about that. I've used several different devices. I've used the Geiger counter. Originally when we first bought the Geiger counter, didn't actually know how to use it correctly. So some of the first videos weren't the greatest. But we made I made a mistake doing one thing. I put my hand up close to these poles. Taking readings. Not touching the pole. But not good. Because whatever's coming off, not just these aluminum or metal poles, but also the organic wood telephone poles. Now, when you talk about radiation, see, I need to talk to a physicist. I need to talk to somebody that's got a brain. Because here you go. What could radiate out? See, right now, I see an aura coming out this far. Now, I don't see it out from the cars. I don't see it out from other things. But I see whatever's in the ground. Now, is it something radiating from the core of the earth coming out? Are the poles, whether there be wood or aluminum or whatever steel, is it because it's like a tuning fork and they're vibrating? I see, and I've looked at this. This started over about 2 years ago on this. Nothing seems to affect it. I mean, you know, they talk about radiation, taking water and stuff. You come out here at nighttime, even if it's raining, and guess what? That field of energy is still there. And it's still radiating. Now, it looks like that kind of like, I forget what they called it, over in Russia where they had the one nuclear reactor where they had the oil in it, where it glowed. I can see a violet, sometimes depending on how strong the field's out, a violet color off of it. I'm talking about this is even at night, not in just the daytime. So what is it? Maybe a suspicious observer could answer that question. Because I don't think it's good, and I know it can burn you. It can damage your cellular structure. Because my right hand got some problems out of that deal. You know, when you get radiation of some kind, it can damage the skin, damage the cellular structure. Your skin starts to bleed. Yeah, not good. And it's never been the same. I've tried massive things on it. Just the hand that I had over by the pole. So is it X-ray? Is it an X-ray? Is it the radiation like that that's coming off of it? I don't know, but a Geiger counter won't register anything on it. A microwave, anyway, something that you would use a tester like we bought, doesn't register anything. A heat sensor doesn't register anything. So, what is it? Now, let's do the science here, but it's something. Now, there were several other things that went through my mind. Was it something that here you go again. You have to understand certain things. And this is where it gets way far out there because I did a lot of reading. Submarines. How they communicated with submarines. And they would, I forget how they did it exactly. They put some kind of wires underneath the ground and they sent electrical current through their signal. And that's how they could actually communicate to the subs. So I thought, well, is this some kind of other kind of experiment? Or then, like, you know, everybody always talks about CERN. But there's a lot more CERNs out there. We just don't know the names of. But this is a constant. And then I seem to try to see a correlation between any earthquake activity, any volcano activity. There's not any. Most of the time, you get a slight variation. I mean, sometimes it will, not very often, but it can jump by half a foot out. But most of the time, this wavelength, this energy, is staying steady. So, I don't know. Now, as long as you don't lean up against one of those poles for any length of time, so you'll be okay. But it's got to be radiating out because I don't see it on anything else. And that's what I don't get. That's what's weird. Poles have no difference in the color. It has nothing to do with the color of the poles, the aluminum, the brown pole over there. I can see it radiating off that just like anything else. I don't see it coming off any of the cars, or any of the metal cars, any of the trucks, or anything like that. Yesterday, when I was out putting that weather station up, I was looking at the 4x4s, even on the wood fence, and out almost, oh, I'd say about that far out, I can see a field of energy coming off those wood poles. Now, what is it? That's the only thing I'd like to know. What is it? And whatever it is, it's not good. It's going to be dangerous because without being able to avoid that in the long haul, it won't be good. And if it is what's coming from the sun, coming in here, hitting the core, coming back out, it don't matter what cave you're in or where you're at or where you're going to be, it's going to get you. In that sense. There ain't nowhere to run, nowhere to hide on that. Interesting. I wonder, me and my son, we've looked at this and debated over this for over 2 years now, looking at this stuff. Now, the witchcraft bunch, if you want to go to the witchcraft bunch, they believe like if there's war and stuff, the energy's coming out of the ground and stuff, they would put, whammy spells and stuff into the ground, different things. Oh, there's all different theories. There's all different. I can go on and on and on about this stuff. Let's talk science here for a little bit too. No, science and metaphysics have to meet somewhere on all of it. But, I don't know. This doesn't make sense. And then, my eyesight, when it comes to reading glasses, I have to have, I use reading glasses now. And the thing of it is, even if I have those glasses on, and I put those on, I still can see that field. I don't get it. Well, I get it. Everybody's gonna get it here before it's over with. This here, I can see right about right there. That's how far out it is. and it's vibrating. It looks like, it almost looks like it's unclear, but then it, like I say, it will have a it's got like a violet color to it. Strange. I'll definitely say one thing. We better figure out some way to not be exposed to that for too long. Because anything like that will kill you. I can guarantee you that. Wild this morning. If you guys see my hand, I've used stuff on it. You see how right here it's dried out? After I was exposed to those pipes over there, like when I was holding that Geiger counter, this started bleeding. And it still bleeds on and off. I've used everything imaginable. From aloe vera, creams, everything. On my other hand, ain't like that. But it didn't start until after I got by those poles. So it's something to be aware of. So I can see it radiating off that. Way about 2 inches out. So what would you use to detect it? I mean, that's the thing. What is it? Who knows? Well, at least I can avoid it. No better than to be around it. See, I often thought too here, this pond here, whatever this was, there was a canyon, like I said, over here where they launched those balloons. And I thought, well, maybe, at first, over 2 years ago, I thought, well, maybe it had something to do with what's underneath the ground here, okay? I mean, if you could take a satellite, had access to a satellite, and you could look at this area, maybe they could get a little bit better picture on all of it, figure out what it is. See, that's what I would do. I'd take a look at it and see what's causing it. Because if it is coming up from everywhere, it's not good. Definitely not good at all. I mean, I do know one thing. I do know it's, like I say, it doesn't make sense, but it seems like it's heavier here than other places. I know one time, way back, drove down by Harrisonville, and I could see it off some of those poles radiating too. It was radiating off. I don't get it. I think it has to do with what is underneath the ground. Maybe something that's either repelling it or either absorbing it, and I don't know. But anyway, guys, that was a pretty good walk. Interesting morning. Check the sun out. Have a good one, guys. Have a good one.